Zogradia, a democratic Iowa nation with a constitutional monarchy that drives on the left. I guess it's kind of a thing now.
It's time to learn geography now!
Welcome to Zogradia, a country that, depending on who you ask, is either part of East or Southeast Asia, and nevertheless is known as the Gateway to Asia. Now let's see how exactly it deserves that title. Zogradia is located in the western Pacific Ocean, right between Japan, the Philippines, and Hariko. Zogradia is made up in the 5 islands of the Sapakaya archipelago, Sapakaya being Ihira for Greater Sapaka, referring to the central island, Sapaka Island, which is home to many of the largest cities including Talbin, Longmadi, Kalan, and Yakadu, the capital and largest city. Sovelia Island to the southeast is the second largest and home to the provinces of Sovelia and Nastrat, while shared a major city of Svyatchem founded in 1838 by the Russians. We'll get into that later. As well as the future Sovelia space elevator near the town of Anju. The 3 western islands are the semi-arid Ashton Island, the Yasu Island, which is kind of just the Yasu metropolitan area, and the less populous Tashnir Island. Zogradia is divided into 16 provinces and 3 metropolitan districts of Talbin, Yakadu, and Yasu, which are kind of just cities in a provincial form. Kind of like how Beijing, Tianjin, Shanghai, and Chongqing are treated in China. The biggest airports are Yakadu Sukatana International, Yasu Gateway International, Longmadi Sapakisakusa International, and South Svyatchem International. If you are going to Zogradia, you are most likely going to come to one of these airports, especially Sukatana or Gateway International, and just take a high-speed rail to some other part of the country. Zogradia is a strongly democratic republic led by Aina Salaki, who was elected just last year. However, they also have a constitutional, more traditional monarchy, led by King Amjad Sukatana, also known as the Katra in Ihira. He doesn't really have all that much power. He's kind of to Zogradia as Queen Elizabeth II is to UK, only maybe with a little bit more power. Also, Yakadu International does change its name depending on the surname of the current monarch. This does change as, in Ihira culture, sons take the surnames of their fathers, while daughters take the surnames of their mothers. So if the next monarch were a queen, it would be named Hayula International, as the current queen is Queen Namaya Hayula. Now, there's a bit of an argument as to what part of Asia Zogradia is in. You see, Zogradia's presence in either East or Southeast Asia is kind of disputed. People like to say that Zogradia is in East Asia, however, a lot of its tendencies, both culturally, linguistically, and politically, are all more points to Southeast Asia. I mean, they're an observer state of ASEAN. Some famous landmarks include Ikida's The Universe Theme Park, Mount Sainaru, the Kunyang Valley, the abandoned city of Ishikari, which was destroyed in 1969 by Soviet forces, Port Alkan, just north of Svyatchem, and Yakadu's Monument Hall, which is often said to be the national mall of Zogradia. Also, if you're in the Yakadu metropolitan area, do be sure to go just 45 kilometers south to the ASAP Zogradia Center. ASAP meaning Air and Space Administration Program of Zogradia. It's kind of the Cape Canaveral of Zogradia. It's kind of like Cape Canaveral, but you don't have to go to Florida. Zogradia is a very warm and very wet tropical nation, with a climate similar to that of the neighboring Philippines, except for the semi-arid, more savanna-like Ashton Island. The other 4 islands are covered in rainforests. However, if you go inland, especially on Sapaka Island, you will find vast mountain ranges that are very difficult to cross. Nevertheless, the Z4 does a pretty good job of crossing them. It only costs 1.2 billion to get us. Now, Tashnir Island in the far northwest, despite being very important as a stop on the Haradio Railway, only has about 900,000 residents. And those 900,000 people are mostly situated in and around the city of Tashnir, which means that it is an absolute Zogradia's nature lover's paradise, with unspoiled rainforests dominating pretty much the entirety of the island. Some of these parts have not even been explored at all, so you should probably take a friend in the GPS. During colonial times, Zogradia was a huge exporter of coffee, and it still is today. However, the economy has recently more shifted towards information technology and tourism. Now, Zogradia is a very welcoming country both to the aforementioned tourists and also those who eventually come to move there, who we will discuss in... Zogradia is very ethnically diverse. With a population of 56.4 million, 28% are ethnic Ikeda, the native people of Zogradia, 19% are Russian, 13% are Chinese, 11% Indonesian, 9% Korean, 7% various forms of European, 7% Arab, and 6% just other. Religiously, Zogradia is 63% Islamic, being 79% Sunni, 11% Shia, and 10% just Muslim. 80% are Christian, about 10% are atheist or agnostic, 6% are Buddhist, and the remainder are a mixture of everything else, from Taoist to Hindu to Sikh, etc. Also, they use a Type K plug outlet, and as I previously mentioned, they drive on the left side of the road, and their currency is the tiketa. Now, though you can easily get by with English, and it is kind of the official language, many people often like to speak the native language, Ikeda, which is a kind of Indonesian-based language that is also not mutually intelligible with Indonesian, like, at all. It's kind of like English and Russian at this point. They've been separated for 1,000 years. Now, Ikeda is the official language of government. However, Zogradia has also recognized a lot of minority languages for the immigrant groups. These include Mandarin, Russian, Hurricane, Korean, and Arabic. Now, keep in mind, from island to island, the dialect of Ikeda kind of changes just a little bit. They're still understandable, but there are some slight differences in the phonology. For example, in Seville Islands, the W sound is more of a V sound. And in Ashkenaz, they actually write in the Thai script instead of Hangul or Jawi, which is a modified form of Arabic. Before the 9th century AD, Zogradia was completely uninhabited. It was actually discovered by accident by merchants coming up from Southeast Asia, some of whom eventually spread the news and eventually settled the island, which is why Zogradia has such a Southeast Asian, particularly Indonesian-influenced culture. Zogradia was later colonized by the Russians in 1784, and it was actually a pretty positive influence mostly, with the Russians contributing to many infrastructure and governmental projects, including entire cities like Sviatchem, which is why Zogradia has a city called Sviatchem. Nevertheless, in 1968 to 1971, Zogradia fought a brutal, bloody war for independence from the Soviet Union, which they won. Some political scientists like to say that this was the beginning of the end of the Soviet Union. Others say this is complete bullshit, but it's strongly debatable. Now, Zogradia is a very pacifist nation. In fact, their national motto is Zogradia o Nakiban, which is Ikeda for Zogradia will never kill. This was instated not long after the death penalty was banned. Now, all this means that Zogradia's foreign relations are generally positive with most nations. They get along well with their neighbors in East and Southeast Asia, as well as many nations in the Middle East and in Europe. Despite the whole war for independence, Zogradia actually gets along somewhat well with Russia. Must be something about the Zogradi's coffee. Zogradia also gets along very well with the US. However, things have gotten a little bit interesting after the 2016 election. You see, Zogradia actually has a constitutional amendment which, like in the US, guarantees free speech and freedom of the press. However, in Zogradia, you can say whatever you want as long as it's not racist, sexist, homophobic, or otherwise discriminatory. And in the US, yeah. You remember last year when the UK tried to ban Donald Trump? Well, Zogradia had a referendum just like that in June 2016, and that actually passed. Donald Trump was barred from entry to the country, and even though now he is President of the United States, the law has never actually been repealed. All meetings between Zogradia's and American government officials will happen off of Zogradia's grounds. And there isn't exactly much to say that they're going to repeal the Trump ban anytime soon. Zogradia gets along well with countries like Germany, the UAE, and also Japan, Korea, and interestingly enough, China and Taiwan. However, by far their best friends are Korea and other Taikei nations, especially Hariko. Korea and Zogradia have established strong relations since the very beginning. In fact, Zogradia has even agreed to not recognize the DPRK as a state. Hariko and Zogradia go way back, given they're actually pretty close geographically. In fact, I already mentioned the underwater Zogradia Railway, made up of 2 tunnels. Each would be the longest in the world, one between Sabak Island near the city of Al Nashra and Kashmir Island, and one between Kashmir Island and the Hurricane city of Sanjaita. In World War II, Zogradia never fell to the Japanese like Hariko did, and so it was essentially a Soviet launching pad for military incursions against the Japanese Empire. And now the two nations are actually really close. In fact, Hariko actually switched to driving on the left because of Zogradia. Zogradia is part of the aforementioned Taikei, which is a worldwide but small economic union between the countries of Zogradia, Hariko, Little Sealand, Reswesen, and Malviet, and thus has very strong economic and political ties with the other 4 nations, even establishing a Schengen-like travel agreement between the 4 nations. Now, as mentioned earlier, Zogradia is also an observer state of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. which means that it also gets along well with many of its Southeast Asian neighbors. In conclusion, Zogradia is either a tropical Sweden or a democratic socialist Philippines. And either way, it is completely made up. I made up literally every detail about this nation. However, there is a wiki if you still want my sources in the description below. But yeah, April Fools! Stay tuned, Bundia Terra is coming up next. So I hope you like this video, especially if you are Barbie from Geography Now. If you haven't caught on, this is a parody of the YouTube channel Geography Now, who I have been subscribed to for a couple of years now. And so if you're interested in this type of videos, you're probably not going to see much of this on my channel. That's more for his channel, but if you're interested in more of my stuff, please be sure to subscribe for more videos every Sunday. And who knows, if people really like this, I might even make a Flag Friday. I mean, sure, it won't actually come out on April Fool's Day, but neither is this.